Hello and welcome. Good evening. You're watching Super 6 here on India Today. I'm Akshata Nandagopal. It's been just about 24 hours since a blast was reported right outside the Red Fort in the national capital. The death toll, unfortunately, has climbed up now to 10. There are scores of others who've been injured in that blast who continue to be treated for their injuries in the LNJP hospital. But 24 hours on, so many questions remain about exactly what led to this blast. The nature of the explosion is something the investigation is underway over. What was the target? Again, investigation is on. But what's very clear, looking at the details that have emerged in the last few hours, is that this was a very intricate web of terror. A part of it was busted by the authorities, which is what perhaps also led to this explosion taking place in the national capital. Over the next 1 hour, we're going to unravel the different layers of the story and confirm for you why this was indeed a terror conspiracy. This is the top story here on India Today. We're not taking our focus away from this because the nation right now is demanding answers of exactly what led to this kind of an incident. We've got 5 unanswered questions that our team of reporters will break down for you on the investigation and on whether there were possible lapses. Let's begin with the top 10 headlines of the day. New CCTV emerges in connection to the Red Fort blast. The I-20, which exploded, was seen entering Delhi via Badarpur border in the morning hours. This was yesterday morning at about 8 a.m. Sources have told India Today that Umar, who is the suspected suicide bomber, planned the attack in a panic mode after the terror module burst in Faridabad and multiple arrests of his suspected aides. The probe has revealed one of the doctors of destruction, Shaheen, was tasked with leading the women's wing of Jaish in India. She's in custody currently. Jaish link to attack is getting clearer now, with investigators finding links of multiple accused to the Pakistani terror outfit. Several doctors have in fact been involved in this, and cops have raided the house of one Dr. Parvez in Lucknow. He's the latest name to have emerged, the brother of the jihadi lady doctor, Shaheen Shahid. Prime Minister Modi has also spoken out during his trip to Bhutan, has vowed revenge for the Red Fort blast, saying that the conspirators will not be spared. Home Minister Amit Shah held a key meeting with top officials in the national capital. A high-level CCS meeting will take place tomorrow. The Prime Minister will chair that meeting. Unfortunately, the death toll in the Red Fort blast has gone up to 10. 25 people are still being treated for their injuries. Meanwhile, news also came in of a suicide attack outside a court in Islamabad in Pakistan. 12 people have died in the blast. Pakistan has blamed Afghanistan, saying they're in a state of war. And the other big story also that we're tracking, Bihar Phase 2 polling, and it's a record voter turnout. 67.14% voter turnout recorded till 5 p.m. in Phase 2. We'll get you those updated numbers as well. Ten lives have been lost, several others injured, and India's capital has been shaken to its core. The explosion took place just meters away from the Red Fort last evening at about 7 p.m., 6:52 to be exact. And it was the result, now it's emerged, of a massive multi-state conspiracy, mainly involving terrorists in the name of doctors, in the guise of doctors. And that's perhaps the most shocking bit that's emerged in the last 24 hours, of how every single accused who's been named is a doctor. Preliminary investigation has unearthed that the blast is linked very much to the massive Faridabad terror bust, in which over 2,000 kilos of explosive material was nabbed. So that tells you that the plan was to carry out a much, much larger terror attack. But I want to focus on one name that's emerged in the last 24 hours. Another doctor, yes, Mohammad Umar. He was the one allegedly behind the wheels of the I-20 that exploded at that red light right next to the Lal Killa metro station. So it is suspected that this was a suicide bomber. But whether this was a panic attack or a planned attack is something that we are hoping to get details on in the coming days. But let's tell you what we know right now. And we've got a number of CCTV videos, statements of eyewitnesses with which we've pieced together the exact trail of terror. Let's start with 8:04 a.m. Monday. The I-20 car driven by this Dr. Umar, because there's CCTV footage to corroborate that, enters Delhi from the Badarpur border, so from Faridabad into Delhi. By 8:20, which is essentially in about 15 minutes, the car again is captured on CCTV, this time at a petrol pump in Okhla, which is on the outskirts of the national capital. So essentially by this time, he's entered Delhi. And then the rest of the time, the cops are still piecing together what happened. But hours later, at 3:19 p.m. is when the next CCTV footage evidence comes to the fore. The same car drove into the Suneri Masjid parking lot. The Suneri Masjid is right next to the Red Fort. And it was at this spot that Umar remained parked, stayed there for nearly 3 hours. Those entire 3 hours, what we're hearing is that Umar did nothing. There were questions about whether he stepped out, did he meet with someone, did he have any aides in that parking lot who were waiting for him. But sources tell us, no, he just sat in that car, didn't come out even once. At 6:48 p.m., the car rolled out of the lot. Moments later, after it took a turn around the Red Fort and came to the entrance, the front of the Red Fort, gate 1. At the signal, the car stopped at the red light. Moments later, exploded. Clearly, the car had some explosive materials in the vehicle, which is what led to the explosion. The question is, did he want it to go off, or was it something that happened while he was trying to escape? But there are many questions right now which need answering. And over the next 1 hour, we'll try and piece together all the information we have, particularly with our reporters on the ground who've been tracking the story right from the word go. The first question that everyone has been asking is, what was the target? Like I told you, the car went off, exploded in the middle of a road at a red light signal. Right in front of the Red Fort, on the left side, is a temple. And I want to bring in Shreya Chatterjee, who's been tracking all the latest updates. She's been speaking to her sources in the Delhi police as well. Shreya, any information that you've been able to pick up on whether there was a target planned on that very stretch that led to that explosion at the spot?
Unlikely, Akshita, because one thing that all our sources are pointing it out, that this particular attack was an attack done under a panic-stricken condition. But we're still yet to get confirmation whether Chandni Chowk was probably one of the spot that was recce'd from before for an attack to be taken place, because from the kind of cache recovered, 2,900 kgs of ammonium nitrate, clearly the module had a plan to do or carry out at least series of attacks in the national capital, averted largely by the Jammu and Kashmir police swooping down and arresting 3 individuals on Sunday and then subsequently recovering those amount. Mohammad Umar, or Umar Mohammed, he was absconding, and one thing is for sure, he was panicked because he was being searched by the Faridabad police and the Jammu and Kashmir police, and that's when the entire sequence you mentioned, he exited from Faridabad early morning, wee hours on Monday morning. He exits from Faridabad, takes the Badarpur route, reaches the national capital, tours the entire location, and then he is here seated at the Suneri Bagh parking for 3 hours. And then subsequently, when he realizes that time's almost up, he comes over here at the red light and he detonates the car, killing 9 individuals. So one thing's for sure, this was a panic-stricken attack. Whether Chandni Chowk was initially planned part of the recce, yet to confirm, because Delhi police and other multi-agencies are right now also they're combing all CCTVs in the national capital to see that where else did 3 individuals recce, and where were their initial plans to carry out the attack.
So from the
those will probably confirm that whether Chandni Chowk was actually a part of the plan.
So from the information you're giving us, Shreya, it does look like the investigation is still on. What was the target? We don't know. But another pertinent question to ask, based on what Shreya has also told us, is whether this was a planned attack, or was the explosion carried out due to sheer panic? Was this man trying to run away after his aides were caught, and then somehow that explosion happened? Let me bring in Munish Pandey on this. Munish, was this a panic attack, or was it planned? What are authorities saying right now? What is the needle of suspicion really pointing towards? Because we know the investigation right now is still underway, but looking at surely the circumstances in the manner in which this blast happened, the manner in which this attack took place, what are they looking at?
Well, Akshita, if you go by the sequence of event in this case, it is very clear that it might have been a panic attack. And in panic, he decided to, do the blast at Lal Killa, gate number 1 of metro station. because if you go by the sequence of events in this case, in the morning, there was a raid by the Jammu and Kashmir police in Faridabad. Most of the accomplices of Dr. Umar Muhammad, they were either detained or arrested by the Jammu and Kashmir police. It was very clear that from that module, at that particular time, there was one particular person of interest who was absconding. That is Dr. Umar Muhammad. And Umar was very much aware that now he is on target of not only Jammu and Kashmir police, but also Haryana police and Delhi police. So he was very well aware, and that is why if you go through the movement of Dr. Umar Muhammad from Faridabad in the morning, he came to the national capital in the afternoon. He spent almost 3 hours in the parking lot, and around 6 o'clock he decided to leave that parking lot, and then where I'm standing, he decided to do the blast. But Akshita, in most of the cases where ammonium nitrate has been used as an explosive, what we have witnessed in past cases is that in most of the cases, the terrorists decide to conduct such acts in close premises so that there can be a maximum impact. In a running car, most of the impact was, suffered by Dr. Umar Muhammad himself, and
Right.
also by the car and the surrounding people. But if the same blast could have been carried in a close premises, it would have been huge. But for
Yeah.
that, you need persons to recce
No,
those
and
premises,
initially there was
identify those
suspicion
premises.
that there
So
were
it
three
appears
people in that vehicle. All of that has been made very clear that there was just one person, which was this Dr. Umar himself. He was driving and he was the only one in the car. Munish, I'll request you to stay with me. But question number 3 that comes up is about the entire terror module. Remember that the Faridabad module has been busted. The mastermind behind that explosion has been identified. So does this mean that the threat of this entire white-collar terror network is finally over? Have they all been identified? Have all the missing pieces of the puzzle been found here? I want to bring in Sushant Mehra for the latest updates on that. Sushant has been tracking the multi-agency probe that's currently underway. Sushant, आज ही हम देख रहे हैं कि काफ़ी खबर आया था कि यहाँ पे रेड्स हो रहा है, काफ़ी डॉक्टरों को अरेस्ट किया है, they've identified many of the other accused as well. तो क्या ये पूरा नेटवर्क अभी अनरावल हुआ है?
देखिए अभी फ़िलहाल ये पूरा नेटवर्क को पूरी तरीके से जो पुलिस है और तमाम एजेंसियां जो है वो पूरी तरीके से सिंक्रोनाइज तरीके से जो है वो तोड़ने में लगी हुई हैं कि किस तरीके से ये जो पूरा धमाका हुआ है उसके पीछे के आखिरकार मास्टरमाइंड कौन है। मास्टरमाइंड मुजम्मिल है जो कि फरीदाबाद से कल गिरफ्तार हुआ, परसों गिरफ्तार हुआ, जिसके पास RDX था। उसके बाद अगर बात की जाए तो कल डॉक्टर जो उमर मोहम्मद, जिसमें बताया जा रहा है कि इसने पूरे इस घटनाक्रम को अंजाम दिया और गाड़ी के अंदर यहाँ पर ट्रेवल कर करके बदरपुर बॉर्डर के अंदर उसकी CCTV फुटेज जो है वो नजर आ रही है। और उसके बाद सीधा उसका फुटेज जो है वो लाल किला के सुनहरी बाग की जो मस्जिद है वहां पर उसका फुटेज नजर आता है। और उसके बाद वो I-20 कार लाल किले के इसी गेट के पास जो है वो नजर आती है जिसमें धमाका होता है। लेकिन फिलहाल पुलिस कड़ी दर कड़ी जो है इस पूरे घटनाक्रम को जो है वो जोड़ने में लगी हुई है ताकि ये पता चल सके कि इसके पीछे आखिरकार मास्टरमाइंड कौन है, इसके पीछे किन लोगों का हाथ है, किन किन लोगों के साथ ये जो पूरा जो दिल्ली के अंदर इस घटना को अंजाम दिया गया था उसके पीछे वजह क्या है। क्योंकि दरअसल जिस तरीके से 29 किलो के आसपास 2900 किलो के आसपास RDX जो बरामद किया गया था फरीदाबाद की तरफ से, उसके बाद से ही लगातार पुलिस ये छानबीन में जुटी हुई है कि आखिर इसके पीछे मॉडर ऑफ ऑफेंस क्या था, किस तरीके से इस पूरे घटनाक्रम को जो है वो अंजाम देने की कोशिश थी। क्योंकि शुरुआत में ये था कि दिल्ली की आजादपुर मंडी और सरोजनी नगर मार्केट जो है वो टारगेट पर थी। लेकिन कल जब लगातार गिरफ्तारियां हुई उसके बाद देर शाम को, देर सुबह ही अगर कहा जाए तो जो उमर था वो दिल्ली के लिए रवाना होता हुआ नजर आया और बदरपुर बॉर्डर पर उसकी गाड़ी जो है वो ट्रेस की गई। उसके बाद जब ये पूरी घटनाक्रम हुई, दिल्ली पुलिस और तमाम एजेंसियों ने खंगालना शुरू करा CCTV फुटेज। तो फुटेज के अंदर कई हिस्सों के अंदर जो है वो नजर आ रहा था, लेकिन कई हिस्सों के अंदर ही वो
so at this point, looking at the terror network that's been busted right now, and remember, 3 doctors were taken into custody. It was the 4th one, Dr. Umar, who managed to get away, who carried out this particular attack. The question that comes up is whether there was any kind of security lapse that led to this explosion. Was the Delhi police not prepared despite the mega crackdown on terror over the last week and details that had emerged that they were planning a terror attack in the national capital? Munish, is this something that we are going to see an investigation into about whether there was one angle of this entire terror nexus that the officials, the authorities didn't manage to identify?
Well, Akshita, there is no denial that there was a security lapse by the Delhi police. Delhi police should have worked on the input which was provided by the intelligence agencies as well as the Jammu and Kashmir police, especially at a time when J&K police decided to conduct raid in the same premises, that is the Delhi NCR region in Faridabad, and there not only explosives, but there was a specific input that one person is absconding. At that point of time, the special cell of Delhi police or the Delhi police other officials should have acted on those specific agencies. But at the very same time, Akshita, it is also important to point out that it is humanly impossible for any police department of any state to, check all the vehicles which are coming to that particular state, especially in a state like Delhi. You cannot check all the vehicles, and that is the reason why this particular I-20 car which Dr. Umar Mohammed was driving, it went unnoticed. Having said that, there are certain concerns which have been raised in regards to the conduct of Delhi police, specifically acting on the specific input when it was told to the Delhi police that there is one person, Dr. Umar Mohammed. He is someone who is connected to this explosive at a time when other persons of the same nexus, same modules have been either arrested or they have been raided. So they would have made some extra deployment in, sensitive areas like Lal Killa or, India Gate, but those arrangements were not made, and that is why such incident took place.
Okay, my final question, and this I'll take across to Shreya Chatterjee, is about, once again, the mastermind, the suspected suicide bomber here, Dr. Umar. He was parked for 3 hours at a parking lot near Red Fort. This is in the Suneri Mosque. What was he doing? What was going on in his mind? Shreya, there were questions about whether there were some aides perhaps there who he met with. Is that why he made his way to that particular mosque? Was he planning to carry out some kind of an attack close to the Red Fort? Is that why he directly drove to that particular location? What have you been able to pick up?
There are two theories that are floating, Akshita. One, that there could be accomplices of Dr. Umar Mohammed and he was waiting for some time. B, probably he was waiting for the right time. But remember, it was Monday. Chandni Chowk market usually does not have the same hustle and bustle. So when he realized that it wasn't the same that they were expecting or the kind of people that they were expecting, probably he realized that his time is ticking because there's already a raid that is under its way. He led that detonation that led into that blast. But one thing is for sure that right now the Faridabad police is also, along with the Delhi police and Jammu and Kashmir police, is investigating into the chatter, the kind of calls that were, if at all, intercepted to have reached any of these people already arrested and Umar Mohammed, whether there were people cross-border trying to connect with them. All these things are right now being looked at because that will probably give the final key piece of information of the final and the foolproof plan that actually was there, and we only saw a miniature version of it.
Okay, we will see, of course, what emerges as the investigation progresses. But there is a serious concern that this was a Jaish module, essentially, that we've witnessed playing out in the national capital, planned to be much, much bigger, which was busted by officials. Thanks, Munish, Sushant and Shreya, for getting us all of those details. We've kind of given you a sense, really, about the details that has come to the fore on so many of those questions that we've been seeing doing the rounds. And hopefully, we'll have more clarity in the next 24 hours as the investigation progresses. But I want to focus right now on the multi-agency investigation and the details that have emerged of what kind of a blast this was. Why did we see 10 lives being lost? Here's the exact sequence of events that unfolded yesterday in the national capital, culminating in that tragic explosion outside the Red Fort.
After 14 years, another blast has jolted the national capital. An explosion right outside the seat of the capital's imperial legacy, the iconic Red Fort. The key piece of evidence in this case is a Hyundai i-20 car that was used to carry out the terror attack. On Monday morning around 8 a.m., the car entered Delhi through the Badarpur border. At 8:20, the car was seen near a petrol pump in the Okla area. At 3:19 p.m., the car was parked in the Suneri Masjid parking lot near the Red Fort. The car stayed there for 3 hours, and shortly after exiting the parking lot, it exploded.
This is the same parking area where I-20 was parked for at least 3 hours. It entered in parking lot at around 3:18 p.m. and was here till 6:40 p.m. And at around 6:40 p.m., the car owner took out the car from parking area, and then the car was driven around the Red Fort area, and then it reached there at the Red Fort red light, which is right in front of entry gate of Chandni Chowk. And then there at 6:52 p.m., the blast took place.
This car was allegedly driven by Dr. Mohammad Umar, who is believed to be the mastermind of the terror attack and was allegedly part of the Faridabad module. Sources tell India Today that Umar reportedly panicked and allegedly triggered the blast near the Red Fort after investigators arrested 2 key members of the module. The magnitude and impact of the blast was so big that the nearby Gauri Shankar temple and the Jain temple were affected.
Right now, we are there at the Jain temple, and let me first try to show you. You can see as to how the blast spot is barely 200 meters away from the very place from where I am right now reporting, and you can clearly see as to how this is the main office of the Jain Digambar temple, and here you can see as to how the shattered pieces, the broken pieces of glasses are now lying on the floor, and this shows the kind of intensity the blast had, that the entire window of this office came down. It broke down, and shattered pieces, the broken pieces of glasses are still lying on the table.
दिल्ली के गौरी शंकर मंदिर में आपको तस्वीरें दिखा दें कि जब तकरीबन 7 बजे के आसपास ये ब्लास्ट हुआ, उस दौरान मंदिर के अंदर पूजा जो है वो चल रही थी। उसी दौरान ये जो विंडो अगर आप देख रहे हैं, ये पूरी तरीके से यहाँ पर कांच जो है वो टूट गया। इंटेंसिटी काफी ज्यादा हाई थी और रोजाना मंदिर के अंदर काफी बड़ी संख्या में श्रद्धालु जो है वो पूजा अर्चना करने के लिए आते हैं, और इसका इम्पैक्ट जो है वो मंदिर के अंदर भी साफ तौर पर जो है वो नजर आया। यहाँ पर जो पुजारी बैठे हुए थे, पूजा अर्चना कर रहे थे, उन्होंने भी इस धमाके का महसूस जो है वो किया।
As the probe in this case deepens, police and intelligence agencies believe that a large quantity of ammonium nitrate was used in the terror attack. The explosives were laced with fuel oil and attached to detonators. However, agencies have not found any wires or shrapnel. As the probe in this case proceeds and agencies unearth the terror network behind the blast, India's stand is clear. Every act of terror is an act of war. With Piyush Mishra and Sushant Mehra, Bureau Report, India Today.
And we're getting you exclusive details now about the suspected suicide bomber, Mohammad Umar. Now, this man was reportedly thrown out of hospital over the death of a patient. Remember, he's a doctor at a hospital, and he was expelled from a hospital back in 2023. This is from the Anantnag Medical College in Kashmir. He was expelled over medical negligence. Now, there was even an inquiry that looked into this particular case, in which they had confirmed that Mohammad Umar had abandoned duty, causing a patient's death. CCTV footage had exposed his lie. And this was when he was expelled back in 2023, after which he was recruited by another medical college. So he continued to serve, of course, but this gives you a sense of who this man was. Remember that him, along with a bunch of other doctors, were also going ahead and operating as terrorists, going ahead and recruiting, building up ammunition, a huge cache of arms that were found with them, including over 2,000 kgs of explosive material. I want to bring in Balakrishna, who is our senior executive editor with our fact check team. Balakrishna, take me through what you've really found about this man, about Mohammad Umar.
So, if you are listening to to what the family members of Umar said when the media reached their home, his bhabhi was saying that he would, when he come to home, he was very fond of children and he would close himself inside a room, and he was very studious and he would study with his room closed. But now it seems that that was not the case. He might have closed himself inside a room, but maybe up to something else, because we tracked his journey back to 2023 when he had passed out from Srinagar Medical College, from where he did his MBBS and then MD, and then he went to Anantnag Medical College, Anantnag Government Medical College, where he was doing his senior residency. But soon after he joined, there were multiple complaints against him. The people complained that he was rude, he was not paying attention to the patients, and there were multiple complaints against him, including paramedical staff. But then one day a patient died, and it came when there was the patient's complaint to the medical superintendent of the hospital, and then an inquiry was set up. So there was 4 doctors who were in the committee, and they eventually found that he was not present, he was absent. And when he was confronted with this, he first denied that. He said that he was present, but in the CCTV footage,
there was clear evidence of medical negligence that led to his expulsion. And now, of course, if you look at the details that have emerged after that, this was in 2023 when he was part of the Anantnag Medical College. He was, in fact, expelled from that college because of this particular inquiry. After which, he then went into the Al-Fala University, I'm assuming. That's where he met with the other doctors, all of whom have been taken into custody. In all, 5 doctors, including Dr. Umar, have been identified as being a part of this massive terror network. 3 are in custody, 1 is absconding. But there is a suspicion that it's a lot bigger than that. This Dr. Umar, and you know, it's shocking that all of these terrorists who've been taken into custody, they're all doctors. They were all serving doctors. And yet this is what they were doing. This truly is shocking, eye-opening. It's impossible really to wrap your head around the fact that these people who were going ahead and plotting this massive terror attack in Delhi were also doctors, people were of course going ahead and believing that they would save lives, their own loved ones' lives as well, all the while they were plotting to bleed the country. Dr. Umar, believed to be the mastermind, the one who executed the attack near Red Fort on 10th November evening. There's not much known about him, but pictures do show him sitting in that particular vehicle where he's wearing a black mask to cover his face. Considering these times in Delhi, it's fairly normal to wear a mask. It didn't really raise a red flag. So he passed through tolls. He stopped at a petrol pump for a pollution check of his vehicle. He drove around, stopped at a parking lot for 3 hours, went completely unnoticed. Let's get you all the details that we know about this man. Now, the suspected suicide bomber who took 9 lives.
Mohammad Umar was a doctor, and he was the owner of the moving I-20 car that exploded near the Red Fort metro station on the 10th of November, right before the clock struck 7 p.m. Dr. Umar was an MD in internal medicine from GMC Srinagar and was working at the Al-Fala Medical College in Faridabad. He is the alleged terror trigger in the Red Fort metro station blast on the 10th of November. Most members of his family in Pulwama are now in police detention and interrogation.
पढ़ाई के अलावा वो कुछ नहीं करता था, बस खाली पढ़ता था। वो किताबी कीड़ा था।
पुलिस आई रात के 10 बजे, 10 साढ़े 10 बजे आ गई थी और उन दोनों भाइयों को लेकर चली गई। पहले एक को ले गई, फिर दूसरे को ले। अब ये हमारी होप थी, हमें पता था कमाने वाला खाली वही था।
तो आपको भी शौक लगा? कोई इंडिकेशन कभी थी कि ऐसा कुछ कर रहे थे?
नहीं, ऐसी तो कोई बात ही नहीं थी।
Dr. Umar allegedly drove the loaded I-20 car into the parking of the Suneri Mosque at around 3:19 p.m. For the next 3 hours, the car remained parked with him inside it. Then he took the car out of the parking lot, and within minutes, the blast took place. Dr. Mohammad Umar died in the explosion in all likelihood, but DNA tests will prove whether it was really him in the car.
took out the car from parking area, and then the car was driven around the Red Fort area. When the car was seen stopped there at the red light of the Red Fort, there at 6:52 p.m. the blast took place. But the point here is that how explosives were, taken inside Delhi. All these things are now being investigated by the senior police officials.
According to sources, Dr. Umar was also part of the Faridabad terror module. Bureau Report, India Today.
So let's break down for you, in the last many hours, who are the prime conspirators linked to Mastermind Umar who've been taken into custody. Because mind you, this is still a terror web that's unraveling before our eyes, that's yet to be fully revealed for authorities. There is Dr. Mohammad Umar, who we've been talking about, the suspected suicide bomber, a doctor, believe it or not, who carried out the Red Fort blast. He was sitting driving that particular I-20 that went off, exploded at the Red Fort. Then, right after this now, we've had in the last few hours, Dr. Adil Ahmed Rater taken into custody, part of the Faridabad terror module, and reportedly a close aide of Umar, a close friend of his. Dr. Muzammil Shakil operated closely with Umar and also worked at the same university. This is a university in Faridabad called the Al-Fala University. And you'll find that most of these doctors are linked to this particular university. There's a jihadi lady doctor, Dr. Shaheen Shahid, part again of the Faridabad terror module, again worked at Al-Fala University with Umar. So you see clearly the connect is clear. They were all working together, they were colleagues, and then came together and built a terror network, believe it or not. Dr. Ahmed Mohiuddin Saeed, part of the Faridabad terror module. 5 doctors, all right now identified. There's one more from Lucknow who at this point remains absconding. There are raids underway to identify who else was involved. But there have been a whole lot of developments that have come in the last few hours, with this particular incident in Delhi sending shockwaves as expected across the nation. Who'd have thought that in the national capital, in the heart of Delhi, this kind of a blast and explosion could take place? There are questions, of course, about a security lapse as well. But let's get you the latest on the investigation. In a new twist in the Delhi blast probe, sources have told us that all senior suspects are doctors from the Al-Fala University. There were earlier 6 junior doctors who were detained for questioning from the same institution. The Delhi police has submitted a preliminary report on the Chandni Chowk explosion to the Ministry of Home Affairs. The report reconstructs the events leading up to the I-20 car blast, underscores the coordinated efforts of the Delhi, Haryana, Jammu and Kashmir police in tracing the terror network. The image that you see on your screens is of the jihadi lady doctor, Dr. Shaheen Shahid, Lucknow-based doctor who's been arrested in the Faridabad explosives case. She was allegedly leading the women's wing of Jaish-e-Mohammed, known as Jamaat-ul-Mominat, tasked with recruitment and radicalization. Reportedly, it was being revived after India's Operation Sindoor. Home Minister Amit Shah, in light of what's happened in the national capital, chaired an emergency review with top security officials, directing them to leave no stone unturned. He's instructed them to hunt down every culprit. And let's round up all the big updates that have come in on this particular story. Mohammad Umar, the suspected suicide bomber, remained in a parking lot near the Red Fort for 3 hours, didn't step out of his vehicle. There were questions about whether he had aides in that particular Suneri Mosque parking lot. Is that why he went there? The information we have is that no, he didn't step out at any point from that vehicle. For 3 hours, sat inside, leading to questions about whether he was in a state of panic, trying to figure out what to do, considering all of his aides had been arrested, their terror plot had been busted, and all of the explosives that they'd collected, over 2,000 kgs of ammonium nitrate, all of it was seized by authorities. Is that why he sat in his vehicle trying to figure out what to do? 3 hours later, he came out, took a U-turn front of Red Fort. The car exploded. But besides that, the information that we also have is that there is a telling Jaish link that's emerging right now. with regards to the module also, and also of this jihadi lady doctor who's been taken into custody. I want to bring in on this broadcast Gaurav Sawant and Preeti Chaudhary. Over the last 24 hours, Gaurav and Preeti have been reporting non-stop on all that's been playing out in the Red Fort blast. Preeti, I'd like to begin with you. You're right outside where the blast took place. 24 hours on, there are so many questions right now, Preeti, of what exactly happened. But this was very clearly a terror attack, planned or not, a terror attack.
You know, you're bang on, Akshata, because yes, till now there is no official confirmation other than what we've heard our Prime Minister and the Home Minister say, that those responsible will be brought to justice. But the sheer fact that this case has now been handed over to the NIA, this in effect becomes a counter-terror operation. The NIA and other investigative agencies have been right here behind me at the Red Fort. The metro station is shut. The entire Chandni Chowk market is shut. They've been combing this area, for any possible piece of evidence. At the back, if you see the white scaffolding behind me, tents have been put in place early morning, where heavy machinery was brought in for investigative purposes, and on the basis of that it was discovered that the explosives that were used in the I-20 behind the wheel was Dr. Umar Mohammad, was in fact ammonium nitrate, and those are all coming together. So definitely it is a terror plot, it was a terror attack. Dr. Omar Mohammad was a suicide bomber. And now let's walk back, Akshita, because the car that he has been using, the number of times it's exchanged hands, ties in. Now, clearly, you've gone through that sequence of events for our viewers where the car exchanged hands from Salman to Amir, Amir to Tariq, who's right now arrested. He's being questioned under the UAPA, and after him, it came to Dr. Omar, Mohammad Umar. So, through the car, it also ties in now all the pieces of the terror puzzle coming in together. It was a terror triangle. We've seen it in 3 states, at least, where Uttar Pradesh, Delhi, as well as Jammu and Kashmir, all the pieces of this terror plot coming together, seeming to suggest with linking itself to the terror module. We can give it a glib word and call it the white-collar terror module because of the doctors attached to it. But it was sinister in nature. It was busted, by our investigative agencies. And you walk back from there, because it is the Jaish footprint behind that terror module. Where does the Jaish come from? It comes from Bahawalpur in Pakistan. So clearly, if you join the dots, the footprint of this terror attack, Akshata, leads all the way back to Pakistan.
And that's shocking. Gaurav, I'd like to bring you in on what Preeti has just highlighted here. There are very telling signs of a Jaish module. But can you break that down for us, Gaurav? What are the similarities that you see here between what happened in Red Fort, the seizures that have been made, what reportedly this Faridabad terror module was planning?
So as of now, 42 samples have been collected, whether from the tires, the bonnet, the steering wheel, a lot of other parts of that car. They will try and ascertain the explosives. It is believed to be ammonium nitrate fuel oil that was used for ANFO for this blast. Now, was this by design at the Red Fort? Remember that Maulana of Terror, Masood Azhar, he's repeatedly spoken of targeting Red Fort, which is the symbol of authority, symbol of power in India. The Jaish-e-Mohammed has tried that in the past. Were they trying that once again? Now, that is conjecture at this stage. There is no conclusive evidence to suggest that Mohammad Umar, Dr. Umar, had brought the car there. Or was he taking the car elsewhere? Usually, when it is a VBIED or a vehicle-borne improvised explosive device, either you ram into another vehicle the way Jaish-e-Mohammed did in 2019, ramming into the CRPF bus, or ram into a vital asset or a vital point. For example, when terrorism was rearing its ugly head post-Kargil, where at the main gate of the Badami Bagh cantonment, and I've covered a number of Jaish-e-Mohammed terror attacks in our country, including in Delhi and other parts of the country. This is a local module. All the terrorists named so far, or suspected terrorists named so far, whether it's Dr. Adil, Dr. Muzammil, Dr. Shaheen, Dr. Ansari, or Dr. Mohammad Umar, they're all Indian Kashmiris or Indian, from Lucknow or from Saharanpur or from Azamgarh or various other parts of our country. That positive Pakistani link is still to be investigated and action found. Should that be found, and hopefully it will be, then hopefully we will see very strong action. But to justify that strong action, right now perhaps there would be stronger action against the enemy within if there is, evidence. Based on evidence, all these elements, they were apparently indoctrinated by the Imam of the Naugam Mosque, a chap called Muhammad Irfan. Now, he was also a paramedic who was not just with these doctors at GMC, Government Medical College, Srinagar, but was also indoctrinating apparently some other doctors from the same location who are working in other parts of our country. So that entire list is being drawn out, and this is likely to be a massive strike in terms of identifying, isolating, arresting these doctors in case they're involved, God forbid, before they can carry out the next terror attack.
This is very, very targeted, Gaurav. You know, I find it very hard to wrap my head around the fact that almost every one of the accused so far who's been taken into custody is a doctor. A doctor who saves lives involved in a terror plot meant to bleed the national capital. And you know, it's impossible to even imagine that these were well-educated doctors working in a university, all hand in glove, collecting explosive material, figuring out how to target the national capital.
Oh, you're absolutely right. You know, from an illiterate Ajmal Amir Kasab, that Pakistani terrorist who was one among 10 to target Mumbai, where 166 were massacred, or these 10 MBBS doctors. In one case, this doctor, Shaheen Shahid, she'd already done not just her MBBS, she had also done her MS, which means, she had also done her master's degree. But what was her master's degree in? Was it to kill innocent Indians? And I shudder to think, if these kind of doctors are treating innocent patients, are they giving health? Are they nurturing them back to health? Or are they slowly injecting poison in their system and killing them? This is very, very alarming. What is the mindset of these elements? How are they getting radicalized? Who are the elements who are radicalizing them? And what is the point of their medical degree if they can't sift, fact from fiction, truth from wrong, and can't apply their own mind? If some paramedic can radicalize them to the extent of killing other innocent Indians, and I sincerely hope this time that stern action is taken against not just that paramedic who's now been taken into custody for allegedly indoctrinating these 7-8 elements, but others that he had perhaps indoctrinated in the past. And that is why, whether it's Jammu and Kashmir Police or the Intelligence Bureau, and hats off to the Jammu and Kashmir Police, there could have been a much bigger terror attack. But for the J&K police arresting Dr. Muzammil first, and from Dr. Muzammil, the interrogation led to the arrest of Dr. Adil, and from Dr. Adil, the others who may still be at large, is a cause for grave concern right now.
I agree, Gaurav. You very often hear of the term brainwashing of youth into terror. In this case, I'd say all of the accused, they're doctors. They went into this with their eyes wide open. And it's, at this point, the fact that authorities have taken them into custody will be huge in really identifying who else is involved in this module. Thanks very much, Gaurav, for those details. Let's cut across to breaking news coming in. Now, Dr. Muzammil, the first to actually be identified and be taken into custody in the Faridabad terror bust, had actually rented a room to store explosives. Remember, over 2,000 kilos of explosive material, ammonium nitrate, which is used to make IEDs, was found with these doctors. And so he had actually rented a room. A handwritten note of this doctor was also recovered from that room. He was paying the rent and then disappeared. All of the explosives that were stored in that room has now been seized. A direct link there to this Dr. Muzammil and the arms that were found. Anmol Bali is joining us with more details on this. Anmol, what's this about a handwritten note? What was mentioned in this note that was found in his rented accommodation?
Akshita, as you know, currently I'm standing here outside the Al-Fala University, where Delhi Crime Branch team and Haryana police personnel are currently interrogating the people. They are looking into the matter, they are investigating it, because all the three, Dr. Muzammil, Dr. Shaheen and Dr. Umar, the co-conspirator mastermind of the blast, are all connected to Al-Fala University. So police is investigating this matter, but now this matter has been shifted, the investigation has been given to NIA. But we have got to know from the local sources, from the doctors, that around 6 doctors, the junior doctors, the resident doctors, have been detained by the Delhi Police Crime Branch team. They are being interrogated, and today also around more than 50 people were interrogated and questioned by the Delhi Police Crime Branch team and Haryana Police into this matter. Around 52 people were questioned, from Vice Chancellor to the hospital administration, nurses and other people, those who were related to Dr. Umar, Muzammil and Shaheen. So police is investigating this matter, and they have got a handwritten letter. Now they're investigating into it, and even they will be making a report, submitting it to NIA, because now this matter has been given to National Investigation Agency. But still the interrogation and questioning is going on.
There's a whole lot. What's very clear is that a whole lot of incriminating evidence has been found against each one of these doctors in custody. Thanks, Anmol, for joining us with those details. Now, in the next few hours, as the investigation progresses, expect a lot more details to emerge, and damning details at that, of exactly what this terror plot was all about. We've seen one explosion taking place at the Red Fort, in which 10 people died, unfortunately, and scores were injured. What they were planning was much, much bigger than that, with over 2,000 kilos of explosive and a huge terror attack across the national capital, and they almost managed to pull it off, if not for our alert authorities. We're going to continue here on India Today, getting you all the latest updates that come in on the investigation into the Delhi blast. Shocking, really, that something like this could have happened in the national capital. Let's get you a quick update on phase 2 of polling in Bihar. It's come to an end, but what we witnessed is a stellar voter turnout, a record turnout. As of 5 p.m., the latest numbers suggest that the voter turnout is over 67.14%. That's a record voter turnout for Bihar, where in 2020, which was the highest voter turnout, by the way, it was at about 57%. Now you look at phase 1, which is about 65%, and the fact that in phase 2, till 5 p.m. it's 67%, that number is only going to go up. It could even touch 70%, which will be a new record turnout in Bihar. Now, what does that indicate? Let's bring in Rohit Singh for more on this, because both sides, of course, will claim advantage courtesy a high voter turnout. Is it an indication of anti-incumbency, or is it an indication of an approval for the Nitish Sarkar? We will know in a few days from now. But the details we're picking up right now is that as of 5 p.m., the numbers for the voter turnout is at about 67.14%. Kishanganj has recorded the highest voter turnout. Combine the fact that you had a record turnout already in phase 1. Like I said, 2020 in Bihar saw the highest voter turnout at about 57%, just about touching 57%. And the fact that in phase 1 of the Bihar election, that number was already outdone. Now in phase 2 too, you're seeing 67%, a jump by 10% if you compare it to the numbers of 2020. Together, once we get the numbers of phase 1 and phase 2 together, and the Election Commission releases that, it looks like you're going to be seeing a bumper voter turnout in Bihar. The question that will be asked is, what does that mean? Who benefits?